It is a beautiful, beautiful day out after a rather dreary spring, so we are honored that so many of you chose to join us. And this is important work, so I want to say thank you as well. This project, this panel presentation tonight, is part of a new project here at Buffalo Art Studios called Justice in the Arts. And this was an idea that came into focus for our administration, which includes Alma Correa, our executive director. Please stand up, Alma. Give the wave. Jane Hughes, who is our education director, I think she might be, there she is. Say hi to Jane. And Dana Drill, manning the camera, and Zainab Sully, who just, like, there she is. She was with us when we hatched this crazy and we were really, we had been together as a team for about 2.5, going on 3 years, and we were really searching, why are we doing this thing called arts management? Why are we working so much that our spouses and our partners are angry with us? Why are we neglecting our children? Yes. And the reality was because we believe in the power of art to affect change. And when we had to articulate that to ourselves and to our partners and our loved ones, it was amazing how much clarity and focus came to what we did here every day. And out of that moment of clarity came this idea that if art can affect change, what is it that we want to see? And we want to see justice. And we want to see social justice, and we want to see economic justice, we want to see environmental justice, and we want to see representational justice. And this clarity shaped the next set of projects that are coming. And we knew, as part of our mission as well, that we wanted to display contemporary art that explored new mediums and new materials and installation possibilities. And that was part of it as well. And so when we were thinking about this, one of the artists that came to mind was Reinhard. Give it away, Reinhard. And we began to put together this project. And so Reinhard is the first in this series, Justice for the Arts. And we are so lucky because we were able to find funding and include the National Endowment for the Arts, New York State Council on the Arts. We also went to some partners that we have here in the community, including Open Buffalo, who's one of our sponsors, and that's where Max comes in. And Open Buffalo has been working with Buffalo Art Studios now. This is the 4th year? Maybe the 5th?
Yeah,
4th year? So they've been our partner, and they really helped us bring this into focus. So this is how we were able to come here. So when we were writing the grants and the proposals 20 months ago, which is really the lead time, that's how crazy this industry is, we had heard about India's work with the Fruit Belt and the Fruit Belt Community Land Trust. And this idea of trees, which was Reinhardt's metaphor, and we thought about this community within our own community that was so identified by the trees there that that was how it came to be known, and how in a moment, practically, those trees were wiped out with no real thought about the neighborhood, about the village that had existed there. And it became much like Reinhard uses the tree as a metaphor. We began thinking about how the Fruit Belt and what happened there was a metaphor and an actual experience for some of these larger issues. So we started to pull together a panel, and you all are part of this as well. I hope you feel, if you have questions, raise your hands. If you don't even have to raise hands, there's not that many of us, if you want to call out. We also have 2 individuals here who are from organizations that are not on the panel, but they have lots of information, and they are collecting. If you want to be put in touch with them, we have Lauren, right? Lexi, I'm sorry, I left my glasses on my desk so I can't see. And Lexi, do you want to just stand up real quick and say where you're from?
Hello, I am an artist and I founded Plastic Free Buffalo. It's a branch of a project that I'm working on called For Future Generations, where I do beach cleanups and I document and collect data on plastic pollution.
Very good, we have this.
Good to stand up too. I'm Ilyas. I'm the sort of founder of the Buffalo Youth Climate Strike. And since then have gone to great lengths to try and build new organizations in Eastern Europe regarding climate change and climate action. So, yeah.
So these are individuals along with our panel that we hope you connect with. We are, Max and I have actually we've been doing this for a while. We really want to keep this conversation, the panel conversation, to 1 hour, because the hope is that last hour you eat more food, and that you also network, and that you find out more about the organizations that you feel a connection with. And I hope you get to know some of these individuals better, because clearly we all have a connection, or we wouldn't be giving up a Friday night at the end of June in a town where we don't get a lot of nights like this. So clearly we are all passionate. So what I'm going to do is hand the mic. I'm going to turn the mic. Do you guys think you can all talk loud enough if I turn the mic off? Do you want to? I have the teacher mom voice. I'm not the one I worry about. So what I'm going to ask is that each of you, the individuals that we invited, that you just introduce yourself in just 3 or 4 minutes about who you are, what you do, and then we can come back around again with some specific questions to get the conversation going. Does that sound great? Excellent. I'm going to stick this here. All right. Go ahead, Josh. I know you can talk about it.
Okay, I'm Josh Smith, and my title is Director of Ecology for Rigidized Metals Corporation. But really what I am is the ecological steward of the site known as Silo City. So it's 27-ish acres on the Buffalo River, not far from where it empties into Lake Erie. So most of you have probably been in Silo City at some point. And so we do all sorts of things. A lot of educational work around ecology. There's a lot of arts that happen there. And we do a lot of community engaged projects. So we have people of every type and age involved in habitat restoration projects down there, and diving deep into all the ecological issues that you can run into on a post-industrial site. And before that, I was with Push Buffalo for 8 years, and I led their green infrastructure department. So we were basically taking vacant land in the city and doing demonstration projects like stormwater infiltration, and community gardens, and pollinator gardens. And that was also like a very community-led process where we would have these community congresses and gather ideas from the neighborhood, and then try to find funding for those ideas and put them into practice, which wasn't always a pretty process, but so that's my background. And right now at Silo City, some of the things that we do, we do like seasonal workshops, some of which are open to public, some of which are private. We have a composting facility, so all of the waste, the organic waste from the Lexington co-op locations, we have a contract to collect that. And it's 110 ton of food waste a year that all goes to Silo City, and we compost it on site, and we use that to amend our post-industrial soils, basically slag, so that we can accommodate native plantings that we're doing there. And that, diverting that amount of waste from a landfill, roughly equivalent to taking 30 cars off the road per year as far as greenhouse gas emissions. We also have a native plant nursery where we're propagating plants that we need to repopulate the site, and just doing a lot of every form of education you can imagine.
And how big is your staff?
It's me. But we have a lot of people involved sort of seasonally and volunteer basis, and I don't really like the word volunteer or intern, but we have a lot of people that are interested and passionate about it. So we have a few official and a lot of unofficial sort of pipelines for people to get involved.
Josh's name. Okay. My name is Lynda, and I'm a professor emeritus from the School of Architecture and Planning. And I think it's really important to know where people come from over time. And I grew up on the northwest branch of the Anacostia River in Washington, D.C. And we were free-range kids, no helicopter parents back in those days. I spent a lot of time in the woods when I was growing up in the community. And it was amazing naming place. When I talk about placemaking, think about what places are and what they mean. And in that place, as I was age of growing up as a child, is that I had the opportunity periodically to sort of lose the boundaries of self and feel like I was really connected to everything in the universe. You know, people, spiritual journeys to try to do that. And it's like such an amazing kind of experience to sort of let go of all of that. And I think I've been spending the rest of my life trying to capture, you know, how we put those things together, because the destruction of the world, the earth that we live in right now is so profound. And it happened to me very early. When I was a preteen, the Army Corps of Engineers came in and fixed the creek because of the new urbanization that was happening, and totally destroyed it. And so I was heartsick. You know, it was like it was somebody had taken my place from me, had stolen my place from me. And from us, there were a bunch of them. So what I've been doing as an adult is working very much in environmental organization, as well as being an academic. There are requirements for academics. You know, if you're an artist, you have to make art. If you're something else, I'm a landscape architect, and mostly writing books, doing that kind of work. But when I retired in 2011, I have been working mostly in water. I'm one of the founders of the Buffalo Waterkeeper, which started out as a friend of the Buffalo River. I decided that we weren't going to be able to take care of the water if we didn't address climate change. And so that's what I've been doing pretty much full time since that time. And I see my role as being kind of like a spider magic, weaving things together. And so I come from the environmental community, but I know that we have made a lot of errors in the way that we address climate change by resting it in science or by thinking that it's an environmental issue, it's not. And so I would say that working with social justice communities and understanding about social climate justice and trying to get people who are in environments to understand what justice issues are has been really a lot of work. We work with youth, another wonderful group. We have what we call the Interfaith Climate Justice Community. We're working with unions, and so what we've been trying to do is to weave together a movement to reconceptualize what the role of human beings is on this earth, because fundamentally that's the problem. So that's kind of what I've been doing. And right now, one of the main things I've been doing, which I think is related to the Free Belt, is working on the outer harbor, trying to preserve the outer harbor. And we have a lot of ways we can think about that, like the public trust doctrine or nature's rights. If it's appropriate when we're going forward, I'd be happy to talk about some of the imaginations under.
How you doing? Thank you for coming. That's great. So I'm responsible for the students work that you see beside me there, and I'm delighted to meet some of these folks for the first time to participate in this round table. I am the world's first and only allegorical minimalist.
First and only what?
Allegorical minimalist. I am the world's first and only allegorical minimalist. I branded that idea here first. This is like the intro of the idea of allegorical minimalism, which essentially states that interpretation is impossible. That rules out a whole lot of judgmental categories of behavior, right? It rules out a whole lot of differentiation between otherness and sameness and difference. It rules out the possibility of making judgments, making objectifications, making any kinds of absolutes or ideological conflict. But it leaves open the idea of direct perception and experience. I deal with trees. I wouldn't notice that. Okay? As an artist, I've been thrown into camps of earth art, land art, nature art, all things that define a categorical kind of limit around things. Whereas, in fact, the limit is really based in language. Right? I believe in the concept of relationship and the verb, which is process-based, experiential intellect, and has little room for positioning, for absolutes, for judgment, or for any sense of separation. Trees are basic to life. You know that. Everybody knows what they do. Everybody knows that when they're gone, we're screwed. Right? So I just want to tell people that they're important. They're part of who we are. And I think I mentioned to Lynda earlier, like when I was 6 weeks old, my parents, I was born in Germany and not from North America at all. Okay, so I don't have any of that stuff. That defines North Americanism, right? I come from a culture that is quite old. My family was back 1,500, 2,000 years. And trees have been part of that culture, directly in your family for a long, long time. Of the forest, from the forest, and displaced by virtue of politics. So I don't blame political positions around these things simply because they're transitory, absolute, and so on. The tree, however, embodies place, embodies relationship, embodies breadth, and possibility. I also teach UB, so I try to put some of that stuff into the books. Right? Lead back there. And Natalie over here, these are all folks that I've worked with over the years, and relationship is what makes it continue. So, if you like trees, you're my friend. If you don't like trees, goodbye. And you notice that they do talk to each other, kind of like us, if we don't change the language, if we don't learn how to create a frequency that connects us. And communication, regardless of what it is that we characterize it as, is inconceivable. Right? So, trees talk to each other 220 hertz. They have a direct communication system through the roots, where they make space for each other, they create nutrients for each other, they create the possibility of balanced relationship. Right? Role models. And they don't judge. Right? And you notice in there, who wins in the end? That tree covered 25 pounds of beeswax. We saw it, right? I showed you, right? They weren't wax, right? They sprouted. That tree sprouted. That tree's been out of the ground since March. What's that like? We don't matter. We matter in what we do, how we move in the world. For sure. But who wins in the end? Trees, yes. But yeah, life is like awesome. It'll kick it. Whatever we do. Doesn't matter if we're around or not. I don't even care if we're around. Can you imagine nobody being around you, just hanging out under a tree? Anyway, if you want to talk about trees, I'm your guy. I would love to do that. I will do that ad nauseum. And if you want an explanation for that really long bird in the other room, I know people keep it away from like that. M&T, I feel like the name of my show. Where's the forest? I'll explain that to you afterwards. I didn't even pronounce it. I think that's
My name is Walton. I am the executive director of FBQ Land Trust. But in real life, I was a nurse for many years, and I see everything that we all do as health, not meaning the absence of disease, but meaning the general state of well-being and equilibrium. It's interesting that Reinhard is from Germany because the Fruit Belt is a neighborhood that was first settled in the mid-19th century by Germans. The reason why it's called the Fruit Belt is not only because German families planted beautiful orchards that resulted in the names of the streets: orange, lemon, peach, locust. And people say, did lemons ever grow in Buffalo? They must have at some point, right? But it also just so happens to be at the higher elevations of other places in the city, which is why that place up there on Michigan High is called High Point. That's why High Street is called High Street. So it's at a higher elevation. It tends to get more sun than other places in the city. It really is a charming neighborhood. And also, like Reinhard mentioned, the displacement that occurred from those German calculated political decisions, beginning with the creation of the Kensington Expressway extending out to 33, that severed that neighborhood. Not only, it displaced a lot of Black wealth and created conditions in which people who were not of color didn't care to live in that neighborhood. People were incentivized to move to the first ring suburbs. I could go on and on and on and on. But the reason why we exist is because there's a beautiful medical campus that has lots of public and private investments that brings in 12,000 people a day to work. And adjacent to that is a neighborhood that is suffering, that is dying, where there's been so much demolition and so much vacancy for so long that it's very difficult to improve the quality of life or the health of those people. So in order to find a way to negotiate with the campus to get some benefits to those people, we decided that we needed to find a way to control the 200 city-owned lots of vacant land in that neighborhood. So I stopped being a nurse and we incorporated a land trust. And that's what we're doing now. We own some land. We're going to build some permanently affordable housing. If you want to know how we keep it permanent, that's a conversation for a different time because it's very technical and wonky, I like to call it. I feel like I just started understanding maybe 3 days ago how it actually works. And I've been doing this work for at least 3 years now. So yeah, I'm excited to be in this discussion.
Yeah, I was very drawn to what you did because of the whole reason. I was a nurse, and then this thing was happening, and I had to do something. And I think for many of us, I'm looking at these young, I think that's that idea of being an activist, right? This thing happened around me, to someone I care for, and I have to do something. How did you figure out? How did you find what the something was?
I did not. My community did, and like Josh said, we had lots of community congresses and meetings where we, like, what do people want? At the time, the most pressing need, not obviously, but oddly enough, was parking. Because there's older homes, not lots of driveways, people come to work on campus, they park on the street. People couldn't park from their houses, so that was the first thing that we had to work on was parking. And once we accomplished that, it was like, hey, we have a little bit of juice. And I would say that accomplishing that was no easy task. It wasn't just going to the city. We had to actually have state level legislation passed in order to get that parking permit system. So while I'm not an artist, well, I am. I just figured that out too. I am an artist, right? My medium that I work in is storytelling. I've gotten very good at the art of telling a story, and that, I believe, is the key to success, right? We involved the people we did together, and we told a great story that just could not be ignored. So when the city said gentrification is not a thing, this is Buffalo, y'all are crazy, we were like, no, actually, gentrification is a thing. People are experiencing it every day. We had great partners that came in and put data to our lived experiences, so it's just been one heck of a ride.
So a number of you have mentioned kind of the past, and Josh talked about like remediation work that's required to monitor our soil across the city. I know some folks are trying to restart orchards in the fruit belt, and then it's like, oh wait, what's beneath the surface? And I know Lynda has worked on nuclear facilities and kind of bringing us back from that. So I'm wondering how each of you, if anybody can answer, really like, how do you spend your time between trying to fix the past, trying to make us healthier or being currently and thinking about the future?
Okay, jump in on that because I think that Joanna Macy, if you haven't read her book called Aquifer, she's also done the work to connect. She says our work today is we have 3 tasks to do. We have to stop bad things, do good things, and shift culture. And that's what I think we do every day, is that things of the past and we brought forward, that we try to heal, we try to create relationships between things, we try to stop people from doing bad things because I think I am judgmental, and you are not allowed to put your shit in that water, and I want you to fix it. It's like, so there are these kind of things. Doing with things, like how do we organize to regenerate society, and then
the catalyst here is imagination. And if we can imagine different futures, or we can imagine different scenarios, then that's where it's working, right? And we are some of our stories, right?
And just one last thing about it, like, one of the things we're doing is the outer harbor. We've been working on the outer harbor. Some of us have been working for years on the outer. Does anybody know what the outer harbor is? And they want to put housing and stuff. It's an international flyway, and birds travel without a flag. The whole group of us are 21 property. We have a concept of the world to be split up, and that somebody can actually own it. Think about it, that's ridiculous. I mean, really, if you think about it at that base, is that what do you mean you can own it? You own a person. I mean, it's like it's a part of our mentality, this idea. And so with the public trust doctrine, it's a part of the legal system in the United States, it came all the way from just Indian law. It says that those things that everybody needs cannot be what they call alienated or taken away and owned by somebody separate. So, for example, the children's lawsuit right now, Juliana versus Doug, 21 kids are suing the federal government for the deprivation of their rights to life, liberty, and property, guaranteed in the Constitution, is based on the public trust doctrine. It says, you don't own that. We have a right to that. And it's you don't just have rights, you have obligations to it. It's your obligation to make sure that that's there for us. That's how you obligate. It's our obligation to make sure that you have an outlet for us. So the whole concept of imagination is that we can sort of question that. And that's one of the things we do in our work. We use the language of public trust. It's that ECHDC doesn't own that land. It's yours. It's ours. We need to fight and not let people do it.
So how did you do that legally in there? When you formed this land trust, I'm curious how many, I know I don't really feel like I have a full understanding or even more than a cursory understanding. I'm intrigued, and you saw that idea of seats of change, land trust and community. You can't hear? All right, I'll use the mic. And then we can use the mic. So this idea, this imagination of, what if it isn't the city owns and neglects these 20 parcels, and we have out-of-town landlords that own and neglect these? What does this mean, the land trust? What does that actually mean, and what were you able to do to take this communal approach to the food problem? I know, in 20 words or less.
When people are marginalized, we have a difficult time explaining that things can be changed, and they're so used to things never changing, right? So I just keep saying that just because something does not currently exist doesn't mean that it can't. If the laws don't suit us, we change them. And if the lawmakers don't change the laws to suit us, we change them too, right? Like, anything is possible, and you just come up with the craziest idea, you ask for more and more, you shoot for the moon, and you land in the stars, but so what? You just keep trying. So what we did was we reached out to other places that had similar models to what we wanted. We were able to secure funding to go visit there. We visited Boston. I was able to take a trip over to Barcelona and just see what is possible when people coalesce around a single issue and just take that and live it.
I love what you just said, the idea of don't ask for less. Ask for more. Right? You keep asking for less, and nothing's going to change. If you keep asking for more, you're putting your needs out there first. You're putting your desires out there first. And you're creating change by virtue of asking for more, and there is no clue to what that might mean. That's the verb at its very finest. Now, in terms of ownership, in terms of conditioning things and limiting things by virtue of the noun, which is the problem with Western European languages, the nounified specifics of our language limit the way we relate. So if we don't start asking for more, nothing's going to change. Right? So be generous to your own needs, your own aspirations. Right? You're 15. Right? What do you want?
I want to make sure that I have a plan to call home.
What else? That's not enough.
one of the things that it has a tripartite board, where a third of the people are lessees who actually live in the homes on the trust, a third of the board are residents of that area or stakeholders, and a third are public seats. We keep land permanently affordable by issuing 99-year renewable, transferable, inheritable ground leases. The land is always separate from the structure. So you're going to be, what's your name?
Jim.
Jim, if you want to buy a land trust home, the land trust keeps the land in trust. It's owned by the community, the members. You own the improvements, the structure on top of it. And because you agreed to your reduced initial purchase price to maintain your home, you also agree that when you go on to sell it, you're not going to sell it at an astronomical appreciation. So that's sort of the minimal basics of how it works. But if you want to know more, we're having a community update tomorrow at the Mood Center at 292 High. All are welcome.
So can you
Take 10 to 3.
I was saying, no, literally say the address again, slower.
292 High Street.
High Street.
High Street, H-I-G-H.
Right, not H-Y-D-E.
It's called the Mood Center, M-O-O-T. If you come off the 33, you're going to make a right on Jefferson, a left on High, it'll be on the right-hand side. You'll see people and balloons, you'll smell barbecue. And if nothing else, come get their free lunch, chicken and salad.
Yes, question?
Yes, I just wonder, so this is similar to the ownership structure like a lot of Baltimore has long-term ground leases, and actually the New York State Canal Corporation has ground leases along the canal, people's houses and things. So how did you acquire title, or how did the land trust acquire title to begin the land lease process?
We bought it. We raised some funds, we purchased some land from the city. Right now we are going through a legal process to convince the city that when you dispose of land and it's going to be used for public good, you can do it at a reduced cost. Because obviously the more land we can bring to a deal, that's what they call it when you build something, a deal. If we can bring the land to a deal at a lower cost, it increases the amount of automatic subsidy. So that person is not paying for the land under the house, which is really what makes the home valuable, right? They don't have to pay for the land, they only have to pay for the structure. So right now we're buying land. We would love it if the city would gift land, or if private citizens would gift us their homes to put in trust. But right now we just fundraise like hell, we write lots of grants, and we have lots of meetings to say, hey city, this is a good thing. We get to recapture subsidy and use it over and over and over again. It makes sense for public and private resources to do it that way.
I have a question for Lynda, I believe. You said that social justice.
Yeah, I'm just going to give you my thing, especially people sitting behind you.
I remember you said that social justice and environmental justice go hand in hand. I was just wondering, what do you feel is the social responsibility of the average citizen? Especially in a community where it seems like so many people don't want to talk about climate change or environmental processes, right? Environmental policies in general, and people just want to sweep things under the rug.
Well, justice is a concept that all of us actually understand intuitively. It's in every religious tradition in the world. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right? I mean, it's the basis. And so anytime that injustice happens, which is when somebody exercises power over somebody else that they have not agreed to, that you have a right to stand up and say that that's not the case. So we live in a society that is highly unjust. And it was interesting to watch the debates the last 2 nights because it was a total agreement of everybody up there that this society that we put together is very unjust. Environmental justice is specifically about when the conditions of the environment actually cause harm. But remember, those things were done by people. So it's like the environment in and of itself is not harmful. It's the way that we've treated it, the way we've made that place happen. So I actually think of all of these injustices the same, including ecological injustice. The fact that we destroy the environment all the time, where there are beings that are living there which should have their own rights as well, because our life depends on them. We were talking about bees earlier, right? So injustice is really the problem. But I come back to what Cornel West said. He said that justice is what love looks like in the public. What we don't talk about loving each other or loving the earth because somehow or another we won't let ourselves use that vocabulary. So we use the language of justice, which says that people are treated with respect, their voices are heard, etc. So when you ask me what we should be doing, I would say what many people in this room are doing already is like not only in your own personal lives, but in your community. We're not going to get out of the situation of injustice that we're in right now if we don't do it together, if we don't take power, if we don't decide that this is not really, really okay. And when I think about climate justice, I think about it's absolutely unjust the way that climate is impacting people right now, especially people who didn't have anything to do with it. It's absolutely intergenerational injustice. You know, it's like those of us who didn't deal with it for so many years, you all are going to have to deal with it every day of your life. There's no question about it. And there's species injustice, the way that we're treating the rest of the plants and the animals on this earth. So it's framed in so much of this issue of justice. But we need to keep our eyes on the prize, which is to say we aspire to justice and to try to act that way.
I think that's a beautiful introduction to what Josh is doing down inside the city. Because I take my students down every year to do sculpture projects and installation projects in light of respecting the fact that there is this fantastic generated energy to try and change that place, but also to respect that place. But I'd love to hear more about maybe, and I'm asking a question.
Yeah. I just want to respond to him and
okay. Yeah, you want to do that first?
Yeah, sure. So maybe I'm wrong, but what I heard you say was, how do I make Black people care about ecological devastation? I'm going to take you to Flint, Michigan, right, where there was a policy decision that was made that poisoned thousands of people. And when the water went bad, the people who had wealth and privilege drank from a bottle. The people who could not afford water had no choice. Same thing when we talk about the creation of highways. The people who have to stay get asthma and heart disease. They can't move somewhere where the air is fresher, right? If you live in Florida and it's too hot, you catch a flight to somewhere that's cooler. If you live in Buffalo and it's too cold, you catch a flight somewhere warmer. That is why it matters, because when the planet goes to crap...
It is. I don't know if I can follow that, though. Yeah, so... Silo City, the history of it is pretty deep. I mean, there's a lot of history there, and there's a lot of displacement. So it was an ecologically extremely rich zone. It was a floodplain that Native people of Haudenosaunee used as a gathering ground and fishing ground, and then of course, it was filled in to accommodate building of the silos and rail track, by wealthy white people that wanted to make money off of, the white immigrants that were coming in at the time. So our site, I'm a gardener, so I'm not an organizer. So I think it would speak a little differently. I've aligned myself with organizers over the years because I'm more of a builder, but I also recognize the need to fight. So I'm going to help the fighters build stuff. So okay, back to Silo City. So basically, we're a floodplain that's been filled in with industrial byproducts, foundry waste. We're not far from Bethlehem Steel. So they generate a lot of what people would call slag. It's like the impurities that they're melting out of steel, and so that's what our soil is made out of, right? And the qualities of it's not necessarily a toxic substance, but it's like a super alkaline, high pH substance that basically can only be colonized by these really adaptive plants that are from elsewhere. People will call them invasive plants, right? So, and the site would manage to be pretty much vegetation free for about 100 years. So the site was turned from this ecologically rich zone that was obliterated, filled in, A few people made a lot of money off of a lot of people's hard work. You know, the Irish, basically mostly Irish immigrants, brought in, and it was really backbreaking work, right? To empty these big grain ships into these giant grain silos. You know, a lot of people died, a lot of dust, a lot of explosions, and then, you know, as shipping laws changed, I learned a lot from Lynda about this, how it actually worked, but it wasn't viable. This was the industry that really built Buffalo, but, you know, at a certain point, shipping routes changed, and it wasn't viable to store grain and make money doing that in Buffalo anymore. So the site sort of went through a lot of, you know, decades of pretty much abandonment, and so the current owner had bought it with the idea in mind to do an ethanol plant. I think most people know ethanol is really not a good idea, right? So it's basically using a lot of fossil fuel to grow corn and then turning that corn back into fuel. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. So that fell through, luckily, and since then it's become like a cultural center, a pretty wild cultural center. So every form of art and music you can imagine has happened there. And then I came on the scene you know, probably about 6 years ago, and just recognized that the place, so there's this deep history from before me of every, you know, arts and architecture, and like just a lot of experimental freedom of mind that has happened there, and expression, which has been like a really beautiful thing. You know, I'm from West Seneca, but I've lived in Portland, Oregon, San Francisco, and those are the kind of things that don't happen in a lot of other places anymore. There's this freedom in here in Buffalo to like do stuff that's changing and we're kind of losing. So it's been like a really wild place, and then when I came across it and met the owner, Rick, I just recognized that it was like a very special place that could use some love ecologically, and like I think seeing you know, as far as remediation goes, you know, we have to start with what we have, right? So when we talk about the ecological work that we do, you know, a lot of people that are into ecology use the term restoration, but we don't use that term because there's no restoring these places to what they were. You know, that's not going to happen. So we talk about regeneration. You know, like starting where we're at, what do we have here, and like what's the, you know, if we're shooting for the moon, you know, what does the moon look like, and we're going to end up in the stars. But so you know, so we've been, since I've been involved, we started this composting facility, and we've just been like, it's a very iterative process. Like we just kind of take advantage of opportunities as they come along. So we have relationships with different school groups, where actually Lynda's daughter is a 5th grade science teacher, and she brings her class down every year. We've done big plantings with them, and we've basically like turned this areas of gravel parking lot and slag into, you know, pollinator gardens and all sorts of different plantings. And now I'm just rambling. So.
Let me give it back. Jane, can I just give it back to Liz? Yeah, I wanted to just say I love that how much of it is youth-driven and it's student-driven, which I know I saw it earlier. I want to give you to answer your question.
A few minutes ago, India said something really interesting about how communities that are impoverished or people of color or immigrant communities are going to be the first and hardest hit by the climate crisis. And the term for that, if y'all don't know, is climate racism or environmental racism. I was just wondering from you all, because I find it's very difficult to explain to like white kids my age, how exactly, what climate racism or environmental racism, so I keep getting these confused stuff. What environmental racism means and why it does not mean that climate change is being racist, because that's not what it is. It's a little different than that, but like how do you think I should best explain to them from your perspectives? Because y'all are obviously a bit older than I am, so you have a bit more experience. I'm just saying. Just a little, just a little.
You know what, I'd love for all of you to answer that question, because we're not very good at talking to young people. I mean, for us, it's like a
But you raised that.
Whoa. Yeah. I don't know how to communicate with them. Put it in a text.
But is anybody else willing to take the mic and maybe talk about how do you try and explain it to your peers or your friends? And I know people are shy, I know people are outspoken, so I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but is there any, how do you all talk about it to your peers when you're trying to see what Ilyas is trying to do? Is there any people to speak to it? There's only like 3 of us here, so it's not. Right, anyone would like to take the mic?
I was thinking about how Lynda was talking about love and how a lot of this leads back, and the goal of this has a lot to do with love. And I think that as peers, if you have a close relationship with somebody and actually care about them as a person and know them on a deeper level, it'll probably be easier to talk to them, and you'll understand how they speak and how they use language, and you'll be able to relate to them and talk to them in a way that they'll understand, I guess, and you'll think about like their background and everything, and it'll be easier, I guess, to relate to them and get your point across better, if that makes sense.
I think it's important to discuss sort of our identities as a whole. Me and Angel work as peer educators at Planned Parenthood. So what we do is we introduce concepts of sexual and reproductive health as well as some sort of social justice to our peers through theater. So I was surprised that Ilyas invited me to such a well-managed event tonight, which deals with the intersection of the arts and social justice. I would say that I definitely try to relate it to the person and to make them feel heard first and foremost, so that they can feel secure in talking to me, so that they can listen to me before trying to jump to defend themselves. Which, no one has any other questions, I'd like to ask how you guys, or if you do at all, how much you guys discuss the concept of intersectionality in your work.
Yeah, I kind of live at the intersection of my work. So aside from my work as a nurse, my entry point into organizing was actually doing criminal justice reform work. So I've done work on bail reform. I've led the Western New York campaign working for Open Buffalo to legalize adult use cannabis. So I know how a person can be arrested for a small amount of marijuana, go to jail, lose their house, lose their scholarship, lose their children, right? Like, I know that they may have been consuming cannabis to begin with because the ground they live on is poisoned and they're probably medicating some sort of autoimmune disease. So like all of those things are related, and we cannot have one type of justice if we don't have all of them.
Well, I plant trees. Going back to fundamentals here, right? I also design green spaces. I think neglected areas in urban centers or wherever, to reconstitute those areas to create life support systems that are inherently interrelated creates another situation whereby people can gather, can experience directly the expression of natural things, and also have time to reflect on these possibilities and all these relationships. But I also teach university, which means I got to keep the imagination alive and motivated and stimulated. One of the places I love, as I mentioned earlier, is going to work at Silo City because of the confluence of a whole bunch of histories that Josh referred to really beautifully. The idea of indigenous histories that have been supplanted, the idea of immigrant histories that have been supplanted, the idea of ecological systems that have been supplanted, and the idea that the imagination is actually rescuing that place. That's the intersection for me, is the imagination. But that imagination stimulates possibility, right? And we mess up because we're not using that effectively. That's the resource that we all share. It's transcultural. It doesn't have anything attached to it other than the fact that it has to do with the possibility of continuity, continuation, and I guess in some sense there is the pure expression of love, right? In the idea of shared learning. And shared learning doesn't know difference. A lot of fucking work to do. I'm doing my best.
No, okay.
Coming back to love, I really appreciate what you said, which is that communication only happens in relationship, and that when you have relationship, you have the ability to touch another person. Matter of fact, we know that your energy extends outside of your body, and when you come next to someone else, your energies get trained, they get kind of brought together, and I'm sure everybody's been with someone that they say, well, I just can't get in sync with that person. It's like their energies just can't work, you know, and that happens sometimes. You know what? Oh, right. Okay. Energy. All right. I just want to go back to imagination too, because love is actually a biological feeling, you know, but it stimulates our imagination. And imagination, or the imaginal, or we talk about loving places. I think that's so important to recognize, and one of the things that I have been working on is the whole idea about placemaking. The idea of placemaking is that how do people turn the places that they find themselves in into places that they love? How do they create relationships with people, places that they love? And it's almost always an interaction, and it's almost always with somebody else. In other words, making places, and placemaking, therefore, is a community activity, or it's a family activity. It's something we all do together. And that we protect our places. Look at the fruit belt. I mean, it's like, we are not going to let you do this. I mean, it was just, and they found innovative ways to be able to do that. I think about the immigrant crisis that we're having right now. Those people don't want to leave their places. No, it's like they're being driven out. I think about some of the areas where the climate is impacting so negative. Think about people in the Maldives who their island is drowning. They don't want to leave their place. And so one of the things that I think about when I think about what we can do as individual people is to start to rehabilitate our places, to regenerate our places. One of the groups I work with is the native plants community, right? And one of the things that they say is like, please plant native plants in your gardens and in your yard, because that provides food and shelter to insects, which are the base of the food chain. You know, without insects, you don't have any food. You know, we talk about bees all the time. We talk about butterflies. So there are all kinds of things that you can do by simply loving and engaging the places that you're in. You can do it politically. I know that the group on the climate strike group has gone down and they visited all their council members and they said, we want you to have a climate plan for the city of Buffalo, you know, and they're organizing a youth council now. That's loving your place. That's putting yourself there and embedding yourself in the place that you live, but not assuming that it's going to stay that way, but that you are participating in its evolution and its change.
Actually, I do kind of have a question.
Yeah.
I don't know if I need the microphone or not, but I just wanted to, because you guys all, have you collaborated on a project before you? Because for like an urban garden or something like that, you find the space and you do the planting and you're in architecture and you have the soil. Like any urban gardening kind of planning? Or is that in Buffalo at all? I don't know, because I just moved back here, I don't know.
So I was going to say there's lots of things like that, but these specific 4 people, we reached out as an organization to friends and tried to build a diverse panel of perspectives. but it's happening all over the city.
Oh, it is, okay.
And I think we can all speak. So have these 4 people been in the same place before today? Maybe? Probably maybe not.
This is my first time meeting the 2 gentlemen. Lynda and I, we know each other pretty well.
But I think it's interesting because that goes back to, I think, what was so beautifully started by the young people here, is this idea of building relationships. And that is, Buffalo Arts Studios has been doing these panel discussions for about 5 years. And it's getting harder to express to our panelists that we invite because we've kind of learned that we don't know where these conversations are going to go, but we really trust the process. I didn't know that I was going to have this exciting group of young people sitting here in the front row, but I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be more pleased with where this conversation went. So we've really learned to trust the process because amazing people come and ask questions and answer things in incredibly beautiful and powerful ways. So to answer your question, not these 4 people, but certainly 4 and 40 and 400 and hopefully 4,000 and hopefully 4 million have come together in similar ways. Jane, you had a question, and then we're gonna have just a couple more. We're gonna wrap it up because the other thing, back to relationship building, is what we found in the process is to have that last hour where we all really get to know each other, and where people exchange emails and exchange contact information and eat more of the food. Jane, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering for the silos project, how do you assess art? Is there a specific way that you're assessing the soil as you plant more natural plantings to get environment?
Yeah, so we're not testing for specific pollutants.
Mike closer.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, so we are we're not trying to grow food down there, human food, right? So we're focused on creating a living soil that's going to support a broad range of native plants, but we're not trying to remediate it to a certain standard that you might have to do, if you want to get a giant loan from the bank to build something new or something like that, right? So we do soil testing, but it's more of like the living soil tests. So like there's a woman, Dr. Elaine Ingham, who's like working that I really follow, and she really we go through her lab. So we're trying to enliven the slag that's there on a broad scale, right? So we've done a lot of work. We've done a lot of sort of unscientific work with like using different organisms that are known for their remediation qualities. So there's a couple kinds of fungi that we're cultivating down there, oyster mushrooms and wine cap mushrooms. So like oysters are good at actually taking up heavy metals and locking them up so that they can't be mobile in the environment. Also petrochemical waste. And then wine cap mushrooms are known for remediating biological pathogens. So we have, so we're kind of, the Outer Harbor is like awash with goose poop. If you've ever been hanging out down there, you've experienced that. So there's a lot of Ecology and other biological pathogens floating around. So we're trying to absorb that. So, there's these organisms out there that can actually, encapsulate and sometimes eat these pathogens. Sorry.
Go ahead, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, like the basic concept of bioremediation is having such a diversity of organisms on site that something is going to take care of the toxicity or the pollutant. So that's really what we're going for. We're throwing like a ton of different life forms at the place, and we're seeing what works. And, a lot of challenges. It's like a very integrated system, and then we have herds of deer and geese and woodchuck that like to eat everything we plant. And then human activity and, our soil is actually made up of like waste. So a lot of challenges, but we're trying a lot of things. And, we fail a lot, but that's part of the process. One of the things that we like to say is like, if something's worth doing, it's worth doing wrong, and then just try again.
Over the years, I've had some of my students do guerrilla planting, seed bombing, where you get indigenous seeds, put them into a medium that allows itself to be released into whatever abandoned area that might be desirable. It's real action, but it's action where you relinquish control, but you begin literally planting the seed in order for change to take place. So that's something that can be done in terms of remedial work. It can be done as a self-satisfying phenomenon, and it also has a way of creating community where people start to, look at what seed bombing could be like as a community act.
If you want to come up here if you're loud, I don't know. It only goes so far. I don't know how much weight it is.
I wanted
Just
to
get too close to the
follow up on your talking about the numbers of people and how it's growing. My name is Jennifer, and I'm a clinical psychologist in private practice here. Sorry, I hate public speaking, so if my face turns red, it's partly because I was out in the sun, partly because I hate public speaking. In January of 2018, I got certified as a nature and forest therapy guide. There's a practice out of Japan called Shinrin-yoku. It's forest bathing. And the program here in America started in 2014. I was in cohort number 15, got certified in January of 2018. They are now certifying guides internationally, 12 languages, 6 continents, 40 countries. They're on cohort 50 now. Since January of last year, we've gone from cohort 15 to cohort 50. I did my practical walks at TIFT because even though I went to grad school in the Redwood Forest of California, and I really envied the people who could take people out on walks there, I said, this is Buffalo. We need urban people to get out into nature, not just down to Allegheny, where I happened to do a couple of walks a few weeks ago, but right here to look at what is happening to our nature. So I want to be the official nature and forest therapy guide for Silent City. Somebody said, think big, ask for what you want. I want that. I want to have lunch with all of you. My mom's at High Point, so we sit in the windows and look out at the fruit belt all the time. She looks at the trees and she looks at the houses. She's got dementia, but she's all about the gardens and the neighborhood and wondering what people are doing in those houses. So I look out over there all the time. So I love what you're doing there. Yeah, I'm all about trees.
I bathe regularly.
Good. And I just wanted to, we have a saying, nature repair and culture repair happy. And I used to be the curator of art at the Young Center here, president of the Young Center here in Buffalo. Carl Jung used the term synchronicity to talk about these things that arise simultaneously. He also used the term active imagination. Not just imagination, but active imagination, where instead of imagining about something, you're engaging in a dialogue with something. So when I take people out, we're not looking at trees to talk about the tree. We're going out to talk to the tree. And there's a big difference. And when you engage people that way, I'm throwing a lot out here, but it's been collected over the time. We go out, we call it sit spot. Part of my practicum was spending time every day in the same place, observing and interacting with whatever life was happening there. Because when you do that, when you spend time with anyone or anything, you get to know it, you get to know its habits, you learn its language, and you get to love it. And what you love, you want to protect. I think that's the message here. So that's all I had to say, but it was a lot. Thank you.
But I really, this was a powerful conversation, and I hope it continues. We have another 55 minutes. We have a dozen trays of food. But let's all, what I am going to ask is if we want to get up, we are going to come around and restack up the chairs so that we can really get to know each other and be together. I see many